Hi, welcome back to our Firebird project, and today we're going to start prepping the spoiler and the back bumper. As you can see, the paint and the clear coat have faded and peeled, so we're going to sand that down, primer it where necessary, and then spray it. And we're going to use just cans of paint from the store that are supposed to match. Let me show you what we're going to use. So we're going to use the Duplicolor, the factory color paint. We got that at Mills Fleet Farm. We'll use some primer, and then we have a two-part clear coat, and I like the two-part clear coat. It costs a little bit more, but it shines a lot more. And then if we have to do any blending in, we'll use the U-POL number 9, and then we have the wax and grease remover that we clean everything with before we shoot any paint. And then we have 3 different types of sandpaper. We have 180 on the rough spots, and we go to 240, and then we'll do the final sanding with some 400, a sanding block. Here's something I really like. This fits on top of the spray can, so you got a trigger guard for the spray can. I've had this bad boy for 25 years. And then we have a tack rag to pick up any final lint or dust just before we spray it. We already used the Bondo body filler on that little nick we had on the spoiler, and then the masking tape and some masking paper and a vibrating sander that is actually orbital, and we'll just be using that on the spoiler and the bumper. It'll just speed up the process.
All right then. I guess they're getting a delivery next door.
A spreader, and then we're good to go.
All right.
Okay, so I have my adhesive sandpaper that we usually use with the orbital air sander, but this works extremely well just to go like this, put it on my block sander so we got perfectly flat surface, and then we're going to just lightly sand down the Bondo that we put on the other day. Okay, and then I'm going to sand the rest by hand after we get done sanding this with our orbital sander. Okay, so we're going to sand the spoiler here, and this is kind of convenient. I just take the adhesive piece off of that, and I can attach it to my little orbital sander here. Just like this. Use 2 pieces, covers it good, and this is 180. So we're going to just do this lightly, then we'll hit it again with 240, and then we'll do a final one with some 400.
This might look weird, but we're repurposing these discs from an older sander that we had, so didn't want to throw them out, but they work pretty good this way.
And also we're redoing the shop. I'm moving my shop from one location into Doug's garage here, and we haven't got it set up, but we wanted to get the Firebird painted to enjoy the summer. So here we go. And now I'm touching up the edges with my 240. As you can see, it's gloss here. So we were just hitting that to take the sheen off, so when we paint it, the paint will stick. So you can see that's working well. Just lightly like that. And then we'll do the whole thing by hand with the 400. And when I do the 400, I'll do it like this in circles. But it's important to get all these edges so we don't get the paint peeling later. And just take our time and just rough it up a little bit. Okay, so I think I got the edges all sanded. So now I'm going to switch to the 400 and do that by hand. I'm sanding by hand with my 400. So I just took a piece of 400 and folded it in half, and then I'll flip it over here. And you can see that I'm using circles so we don't leave any straight lines when we're doing this. So I just go like this ever so lightly, and then I can feel my edges where the clear coat was to make sure I got it. It's really feeling nice. And I can flip it over. And as you can see, like I said, we're not wet sanding it. We could wet sand it, but we're not getting hardly any dust today. So that's really nice. And I'm going to do the edges ever so gently. Just enough to take the sheen off so we get some good adhesion. Okay, there we go with the 400.
So we're looking at this section right here below the tail light, and we see some peeling and some damage that we want to correct. So with the camera off, because we got struck with a sudden bout of inspiration, we decided to look at removing those tail light assemblies. And as you can see, there's a lot of plastic in the back of these old F bodies. So we don't have a teardown going right away because we were just figuring it out to get started. But to give you an idea, we've removed a couple of these little plastic pieces here that were holding the body parts or the interior trim in place so that we can access the housing, which is held together with a number of smaller plastic nuts. There we go. There's a little one right under his elbow. There's one right there that these
hold the taillight assembly in. And then we'll pull the taillight out, and that'll give us clearance to do the sanding we need on that one ledge. Holy buckets.
Boy, that's grimy under there.
Like that. There we go.
The thing that always scares me with these old plastic components is I'm always going, please don't snap, please don't snap.
Yeah, I know it. There we go.
There it is.
Whew,
That collected a lot more dust in that housing than I ever would have expected.
Okay, you better take a picture here so we know. Do you have your camera?
Oh yeah.
Take a picture so we know exactly what's going back where.
It's just catching. Need me to hold anything out of the way?
It's coming. There we go.
Man, it would be so sick to swap these out with LEDs, especially if you could do like chasers, like the old Mustangs and Mercuries. You know what I mean? I'm seeing like Audis and some of these other ones do that too. Maybe yours does it where the turn signal chases.
Mine does not do that, but yeah.
Well, look at the shape of the lights on this one. The 91 Firebird lights with that kind of cassette futurism look to them. They look like they should be chasers. Hold on.
Yeah, just set it on the ledge there. Okay, now okay, it'll be okay.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I think it'll be okay. There's not any clearance.
No matter anyway, it's gonna get repainted. Well, this doesn't look nearly as filthy as the other one did. Dusty, yeah, but nearly.
There. Got it. Okay. Okay, so then I think what we're gonna do is get some of our masking paper and just put some paper over this so the bulbs are out of the way when we...
And let's just...
Oh yeah, there we go. Get the bulbs out of the way when we do this sanding, because this is the ledge right here on that edge that was starting to peel on the clear coat, so we're going to sand it from here all the way down into here. And we're not going to paint the whole bumper. We're going to put a line right here, and nobody's going to notice, and if they do notice, they don't have to look at our car.
All right, we missed out on the audio and the footage of the spoiler getting sanded, so for your listening pleasure.
Here, we're going to sand the bumper. See how the clear coat is all that it's chipped away? And so we got to get that all off of here. Okay, it's coming off really good. I really didn't want to paint down below here, so we're going to have to decide if we're going to blend that in or if I'm just going to make a line across here that you're really not going to see. And anyway, it's going on. Okay, now we're going to switch to the 240, and then we're going to do some sanding by hand to get in these contours here too. So we have to get underneath here and do this contour. Gotta switch hands. Okay, then I gotta sand this little strip on the side here. I'm gonna try to not go below that line, that body line there. And I'm either gonna mask that or I'm gonna blend it in. Yeah. one of the most important pieces of the project are to get it masked off right, like around these edges and stuff, so you don't get overspray on the parts that you're not painting. Most of you know that, and I'm sure I'll get some other recommendations as we go. Okay, so we're gonna have a sharp line here on the primer when we do it, and we'll sand that off, and then I'll show you how we're gonna blend it in with the rest of the bottom of the bumper that we're not gonna paint. So okay, and then we'll finish masking and we'll be ready to prime. Okay, so we're going to take our degreaser and saturate our rag a little bit and just wipe down all the spots where we're going to primer. We'll get all the edges. Okay, we're going to let that dry just a bit, and then we're going to hit it with our tack rag, and then we're going to do some spraying. Okay, so we're ready to spray the primer, and I shook it up and kept shaking it for a minute and a half after the ball started moving. Then we're going to put our trigger on here, just like that, and then you want to do a test run on a piece of masking paper to make sure your spray is coming out right. There we go. Looks good. And now they've got them so this has a beautiful fan on it. So we're going to give it a shot. Okay, went on great. Sprayed great, so I'm real happy with that primer. So we let the primer dry for about an hour and 15 minutes at 80 degrees. And what we have to do is we'll be removing the masking tape down here, and I'm going to feather in that edge, and then we're going to paint over it, and we're going to sand the whole thing very lightly, every place we primered very lightly with 400 grit, and then we're going to spray it with the red. So we'll start by taking off the masking tape down here. Okay, so this edge right here is what we're going to just very gently sand without going too much into the paint. Okay, so we got that. We're going to take the 400 grit sandpaper, and you can use something even finer if you want. And I'm just going to very, very lightly sand where we primered. Then I'm going to wipe it off. Then I'm going to wipe it off with the degreaser and then the tack rag, and then we're going to spray it with the red. So I'm just going to, in a circular motion, very, very lightly knock it down a little bit. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing on the bumper. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to wipe it off with just a plain rag. Then I'm going to wipe it off with a rag that's very lightly saturated with the degreaser, and then the tack rag. Okay, then we're going to do the rag with the degreaser.
Pinstripes add 5 horsepower, speed stripes add 15. I read that in a book somewhere.
Oh, it's got to be true. You sure you didn't see it on the internet? Because if it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
It might have been like an internet book thing. I'm not sure. Like a post.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got to be true. The primer went on as easy as primer could ever go on. They really have improved the nozzles on the spray can. And so what we're going to do is we take a practice shot on the masking tape or on the masking paper to make sure everything sprays out right without going on the car in case there's an issue. So here we go. Oh yeah, that's real nice. Okay, so here we go. It spit on us a little bit over here. This nozzle is really spitting.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed with that. Okay, so we'll try to put it on a little heavier. nuts. Well, we just about used the whole can, and quite frankly, I'm pretty disappointed with the way it went on. Really disappointed.
Still translucent in some of these spots here.
Yeah.
Of course we gotta have a flag it in here.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to spray it. I'm going to try to spray down on it so we don't get a sharp line right here. And then as soon as we get good coverage, we're going to pull out the can of U-POL 9 and spray it on there and see if we get a blend. So this is kind of experimental, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay, there's our first coat. Okay, I think that's it. Doug, take a look at it, see if your dad missed anything.
Looks good to me.
Okay, so we're gonna let it set up for a minute. And when we come back, we will have stripped off the masking paper. And then we're gonna try the U-POL just on that edge and see if it does anything.
Oh yeah, the red faded different though.
Yeah. Well, it's not bad though. You're right though, but I was worried about that because red's one of the worst colors.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're kind of in uncharted territory for us, so we're gonna try to use this U-POL 9 on that edge right in here and see if it lightens it up just a little bit. We don't know, we'll find out. Okay, we'll let her sit. I don't think it's going to do it, but...
Okay, so yesterday we used the Duplicolor Perfect Match paint off the shelf, and the primer from Duplicolor really sprayed beautiful, but on the spoiler when we sprayed this, it spit a lot, and I just didn't feel we got real good coverage, and some of it might have been me because I hadn't sprayed anything for a long time. But today we used the mix from O'Reilly, so they actually mixed the color into the can for you, and the spray sprayed better. We did get a little bit of spitting, but not much, and the coverage was much better. This was about 20 bucks. This was 34 bucks a can. The can is bigger, so if I had it to do over again of which one to use, I'd use this one. And then we made a mistake probably, and we should have painted this whole section all the way down to here, and we didn't. But like we said, we're trying to make it a decent 10-footer. It's not going to be a show car, and it's a lot better than the clear coat that was peeling if you refer back to that. So it's good for a Sunday drive, and we got a nice shine out of this one, and so good coverage, so we're really happy with that.
Welcome back. So we painted this bumper here, and well, the feathering didn't turn out quite like we were hoping, so I think we're gonna strip it back down and see if we can clean it up a bit more. What was that product again that we were using that was supposed to feather this in?
Well, it was U-POL 9, but we didn't do it quite right. We got great coverage, we got a good shine, and we used the O'Reilly where they mix your color in the can. But what happened is we didn't blend it very good here, and I was thinking we could live with the ridge if the paint came together good enough, but it didn't. So we're just going to sand that down. We're going to just repaint the bump